In 17th century Spain, stories didn't spread through newspapers or cameras. They moved through whispers, and one whisper kept growing louder. A child, a girl, whose body was growing in a way no one could explain. Long before the royal court ever heard her name, before the paintings, before the cruel nickname that would follow her forever, Eugenia Martínez was just a baby. She was born in 1674 in a small, remote settlement in northern Spain, far from wealth and far from attention. Her parents were ordinary people, likely from a humble background, and her life should have followed a quiet, predictable path. But even her birth was unusual. One Sunday morning, while her mother was in church, labor began suddenly. There was no time to return home. Surrounded by witnesses, she gave birth right there, inside the church. To the people who saw it, this wasn't just strange, it meant something. In a world shaped by belief and superstition, events like this were interpreted as signs. Many believed the child had been born under a kind of blessing. She was named Eugenia, a name associated with being well-born, as if her life was meant to carry significance. At first, everything seemed normal, more than normal even. Eugenia was strong, healthy, and had a remarkable appetite. In the 17th century, that wasn't seen as a problem. It was reassuring. Childhood was fragile, and many children did not survive their early years. A baby who appeared robust and constantly hungry might have been seen as a sign of health and survival. But over time, something became impossible to ignore. Eugenia didn't just grow, she expanded at a rate that confused and unsettled everyone around her. What may have first seemed like a healthy, well-fed child soon turned into something far more unusual. Her size increased rapidly, and accounts from the time claimed that before she even reached her first birthday, she appeared far older than she was. While those descriptions may have been exaggerated, her weight was not. By the age of 1, she was said to weigh around 20 kilograms, and her growth showed no sign of slowing down. Her siblings developed normally, which only made the difference more alarming. Her parents, increasingly worried, sought help from a physician. In response, Eugenia was placed on a strict diet in an attempt to control her condition. But nothing changed. No matter what they tried, she continued to grow. As her body changed, so did the way people treated her. Neighbors did not respond with concern, but with cruelty. They stared, whispered, and mocked her openly. What should have been a normal childhood slowly disappeared under the weight of attention she never asked for. Her parents, seeing the harm this caused, tried to protect her the only way they could. They kept her inside the house away from the public eye, but hiding her did not stop the curiosity. In fact, it seemed to make things worse. Stories about the giant girl spread from village to village, becoming more exaggerated each time they were told. Soon, strangers began arriving just to see her. They came not out of kindness, but curiosity. They wanted to look, to judge, to confirm the rumors for themselves. By the time she was 6 years old, Eugenia's condition had already turned her into a subject of widespread fascination. That fascination eventually reached the highest level of power in Spain. King Charles II heard about her and became intrigued. A royal messenger was sent to her family home with a request that was not truly a request. Eugenia was to be brought before the king. For her parents, this must have been a difficult and uncertain moment. Refusing the king was not an option, but sending their child away into a world they did not understand carried its own fear. Perhaps they hoped the king could help her. Perhaps they believed her life might improve. Whatever their reasons, they agreed. In 1680, at just 6 years old, Eugenia was taken to Madrid and brought into the royal court. At first, everything may have appeared promising. She was dressed properly, presented according to court customs, and received attention from the king himself. Charles II showed a clear fascination with her and soon arranged for her to remain at court under royal care. But the reality of her new life quickly became clear. European royal courts had long maintained a tradition of keeping individuals who were considered unusual. These included jesters, dwarfs, and people with visible physical differences or mental conditions. In Spain, they were known as gente de placer, people of pleasure. Their role was not one of dignity, but of entertainment. Eugenia became part of that world. She was displayed at court events, observed by nobles, and treated as something to be seen rather than understood. Women at court reportedly liked to stand beside her for portraits, using the contrast between her body and theirs to emphasize their own appearance. Her presence became a tool for others, a way to reinforce ideals of beauty and refinement by comparison. It was during this time that she was given the name that would define her place in history, La Monstrua, the monster. It was not just a cruel nickname whispered behind her back. It was recorded, repeated, and even used in official works. The king commissioned 2 portraits of Eugenia by the court painter Juan Carreño de Miranda. These paintings still exist today and are displayed in the Museo del Prado in Madrid. Their titles reveal how she was truly seen: La Monstrua Vestida and La Monstrua Desnuda, the monster clothed and the monster undressed. Rather than preserving her identity, these portraits turned her into a spectacle. They did not present her as a child with a life or a story, but as something unusual to be observed and remembered. Today, historians believe that Eugenia may have suffered from a rare genetic condition known as Prader-Willi syndrome, a disorder that causes constant hunger, rapid weight gain, and hormonal complications. Many of the symptoms described in historical accounts align with this possibility. However, without modern medical records, it remains a theory rather than a certainty. What is certain is the impact her condition had on her life. Moving around the palace was difficult for her. She became tired easily and struggled physically in ways others did not. She likely faced ongoing health complications, including hormonal issues, and may have been infertile. And yet, her life at court was not entirely defined by suffering alone. Over time, Eugenia appears to have become known for her personality as much as her appearance. She was described as kind, gentle, and pleasant. Despite the circumstances that brought her there, she managed to form a place for herself within the court environment. She was not fully accepted in the way others were, but she was not entirely rejected either. Eugenia remained at court for the rest of her life. In 1699, at around 24 years old, she died. The exact cause of her death is unknown, and the location of her remains has never been clearly identified. It is likely that her condition played a role, but no definitive answer exists. Centuries later, her image still survives. In 1997, a statue inspired by one of her portraits was commissioned in Spain, ensuring that she would not be entirely forgotten. But even in remembrance, her story remains tied to the same image that once defined her, a figure seen not for who she was, but for how she appeared. Eugenia Martinez's life reveals something deeper than a single story. It reflects a world where difference was not understood, but displayed, where curiosity often replaced compassion, and where a child could be turned into a spectacle simply for being unlike everyone else. Behind the name, behind the paintings, and behind the attention, there was a person who never chose any of it, a child who was seen by everyone, but rarely understood.